Up first, the Warriors were sitting on the couch watching the Blazers and Nuggets duke it out in Game 7. And what really turned out to be an incredible series, and they saved the best for last. Oakland native Portland's Damian Lillard hoping to come home for the conference finals. Blazers trailed by as many as 17 first half, but late third quarter, C.J. McCollum layup gave Portland their first lead of the game, 72-71. Lillard shot just 3 of 17, but in the fourth, comes up with the steal, runs into the corner, knocks down the three. Blazers by 7 with 3 minutes left. Takes it to the final minute. Denver down 1. McCollum ices the game with a jump shot. He scored 37, and Portland came back to win 100-96 to win the series and advance to their first conference final in 19 years, which means for the first time in a conference finals, two brothers, Steph and Seth, will oppose each other.
He texted me right after the game. He said, "I'll see you Tuesday," so I'm looking forward to it. It's hard to believe right now. So many years I've watched Steph play in the Western Conference Finals, the NBA Finals, being in the crowd. So it's going to be fun to be out there on the court competing to get to that final. So, I mean, it's a dream come true for us two.
Just one of many side stories. So it's the Warriors and the Blazers, game 1 and 2, Tuesday and Thursday in Oakland, games 3 and 4, Saturday and Monday in Portland. And if necessary, game 5 would be 10 days from now back at Oracle. Joining us now from his home in Oakland, Matt Steinmetz, former Warrior beat writer, now host of 95.7 The Game. And Matt, before we get into the Portland Warrior matchup, I got to take you back to Friday. I was listening to 95.7 The Game, 680 KNBR, going back and forth. There was a lot of doom and gloom minus Kevin Durant. Where did you stand in that whole process, and what was your impression on the outcome?
I didn't understand all the doom and gloom either, Dennis, to tell you the truth. I just didn't understand how you were going to be able to count the Warriors out in a Game 6 after they won 3 titles in the last 4 years. I get it, they were playing without Kevin Durant, but if you look at some of the numbers over the last couple years while Durant was here, they've had victories without him. I wouldn't have predicted that they were going to win the game, but I certainly would have never counted them out. I mean, they're just too good, and they've earned too much of our respect.
The Warriors actually got quality minutes from their bench. Bogut,
Yep.
and you go down the list. I think 11 players played. Do you think Kerr learned something from that particular game that he can take forward?
That's a great question. I think one of the reasons he used as many players as he did in Game 6 was because he knew he at least had a little bit of wiggle room with the Game 7 at home, and it paid off because Livingston played probably his best game in the postseason. Looney was terrific. I don't know that they win the game without Looney, but I do think the Warriors are kind of running out of players a little bit. That's why if Cousins can come back in the Western Conference Finals, that's one of the things that I think is going to be an issue maybe moving forward if Durant's injury lingers into maybe game 3 or 4.
You look today, McCollum goes 45, Lillard goes 45.
Right.
They don't have any rest at all. And this is a classic contest between two of the best backcourts in the NBA. How do you size up the backcourt matchup?
Well, I mean, honestly, I think the Warriors have the best backcourt in the NBA, and Portland may have the second best backcourt in the NBA. However, I do think the Portland backcourt is good enough that they can outplay the Warriors backcourt in a given game and over the course of a series. Not saying it's going to happen, but it could happen. They don't necessarily have to win the backcourt matchup if Kevin Durant's playing, because Portland doesn't really have anybody that can match up with him.
What's your feeling about the Curry matchup? Specifically, I think Seth is a great story. Seth has carved out a pretty good career for himself.
It's funny, Dennis. I was having a discussion with a buddy the other day, and he was talking about Seth Curry, and he said, you know, Seth Curry should come to the Warriors and be Steph's backup. And I'm like, so wait a minute. This guy's been in Steph's shadow his whole career. He's finally starting to emerge on his own, and now he's going to go step back in his brother's shadow. You're right. I think he's a nice third guard. I think the one thing about both Currys that you have to give them credit for, and maybe you have to give their family credit for, is you know, Steph came into the league, and he's gotten better and better and better every year he's been in the league. Seth Curry's been the same way. He was a fringe NBA player when he started his career. He's a legitimate rotation player right now. I'm sure he has aspirations of being a starter for a team, maybe in a year or two. He can shoot the ball well, not as good as Steph, but you know what? Seth Curry's got to be guarded. He's got to be guarded, and he's got pedigree like his brother, so he's got to be respected out on the court.
I got to believe that if Dell was off mic, off camera, and nobody listening, he said, I'd like to see Seth steal this series. My other son's got his rings. I'd like to see Seth in the finals, right?
You would think, but does anybody ask you which kids you love more, Dennis?
No, that's a great
Tough
point.
answer.
It's a great point, especially on Mother's Day. I got you. Hey, by the way,
Yeah.
great job on 95.7 The Game, but Daryl the Guru, he knows how to poke you, right? He knows how to light your fire. Am I right?
Yes, he is the star of the show by far. I call him my winning lottery ticket. He's the best. Great guy. I love him.
You guys did a great job. Hey, Matt, thanks as always. We appreciate it. Great knowledge on the Golden State Warriors, and we'll talk to you going forward.
Thanks for having me, Dennis.